This is planet Pisto. The people here have always been famous for their bravery and courage. They always lived a peaceful life up until the arrival of the Decepticons. Even worse, some Pistonian soldiers have defected and got together with Galvatron and his force to lock away its people in the underground factories. Some Pistonians have fought back, and they're now advancing on the enemy's base.
Welcome back to the Tiny Room Hangar. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well, going into a great weekend. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about the possibility of getting Masterpiece Battle Beasts, and also discussing why have I not talked about Battle Beasts in a while. Well, because they're not going to bring them back at retail. Hasbro refuses to, even though it would print money. I'm going to talk about the vintage toy line a bit, and then talk about some of these resurgences we have seen. We've actually seen a couple of attempts to bring Battle Beasts back so far, and could that be classified as Masterpiece already, if anybody really cares? But it is tied to Transformers in Japan, which kind of gets back to, is there a big enough market for it? But there's something else out there that has beasts in it, animals in it, and shares a lot of similarities, even though it is not going for Battle Beasts. It's actually Masterpiece scaled at 7-inch. We'll talk about this and more coming up. In the Japanese Headmaster series, Battle Beasts showed up. They were in the show, and they're some sided with the Autobots, some sided with the Decepticons, and just basically for survival. But this is how it was marketed in Japan back in the 80s. It was marketed as an extension of the Transformers, and to my knowledge, probably only one episode I found so far that has them in it, but it is kind of cool that there is some link, some tie to the Transformers. This is an example of Japanese packaging. As you can see at the very top, there's an Autobot symbol on this one here, and I think this is actually, is this number one? Is this the first one that was made? Anyhow, this is quite an interesting type of packaging. They're packaged 1 per. In the US, packaged them 2 per. But still, this is the very beginning, the early days of Battle Beasts. Hasbro brought it over here and literally only had a commercial for it. They did not have a TV show. They did not want to tie it to Transformers like they did in Season 4 or the Headmasters. See, they would have had to extend it past the 5 episode or however many episodes it was to have that little mini series for the Headmasters. It was Season 4, and it was not very long, so they didn't want to invest, I guess, into that. And also, they would have had a hard time incorporating it into the miniseries. It would have more or less taken over the miniseries. So they just, for whatever reason, decided to leave it out of Transformers, and it was its own standalone thing, but without having a cartoon or any media to drive it, other than, of course, the commercials that really focused on the fire, wood, water kind of situation. It is the rock, paper, scissors mantra all over again. The figures themselves for the US release, they had little characters that looked like animals and the beasts, and they had armor, and they had a weapon, and so each figure had their own weapon. I don't believe any 2 figures share a weapon, unless it's the same weapon recolored, but I still don't see any that are like that. But then we end up getting into a total of, I think, 112 when you look at the Laser Beast. Like this day and age, I guess with enough money you can accomplish anything, but this is something that, this is the reason that they won't come back. Not Laser Beasts themselves, but the fact that most people would probably be all in on the first series, and then very few on the second series, and then the third series people would tap out, and nobody would be in on the Laser Beasts except for hardcore collectors. In or around 2013, Takara wanted to resurrect their baby. It is Takara's baby. They resurrected these beasts and made them a little bit bigger in something that they called Beast Saga. It is Beast Battle Beasts, but it was Beast Saga, and they used it as a dice game, and I'm sure some people like that. Most collectors that collect it probably just want to go after the figure. unlike vintage Battle Beasts, these are actually quite cheap, pretty easy to get, and even though you have to more or less this day and age, most of the time import them from Japan, it's still less than $10 a figure. In fact, I think this set was only $30 for these 6, so that's $5 a figure, even if you're spending 10 shipping. So it's relatively easy to still collect those, and they're a little bit bigger than the original vintage. But would you classify that as masterpiece? Alright, this is a picture I took. I've got some Battle Beasts. I actually have like 50 of them or something like that. They're expensive little suckers, to tell you the truth. And look how they scale with a G1. Well, that's actually the missing link, but I like that one so much. I pull it out. Even though I have a G1 right there. This is the scale and size of what you would have seen in the 80s next to that. And then there's a Masterpiece Prime. That is the Magic Square. And those are two X-Transbots, Ironhide and Ratchet. So you can see size and scale and how they fit for the original vintage ones. Now, I don't have any of the remakes or any of that kind of stuff. I'm not sure I'd even go after that stuff at this point. But if, say, Takara put them out and got serious about making it in the Masterpiece scale, got serious about matching the originals but giving them a modern flair, I'd be interested in that. Okay, so there's some continuity to the way I'm showing the pictures. So you saw how small they were next to Optimus Primes, and now you see that this is, on the left is a vintage, on the right is one of the 2013 Beast Sagas. And then you can see these pictures are courtesy of Pixel Dan, good old Pixel Dan. He was actually into all this stuff at the time, so it's really cool that he covers all this. Great dude, Pixel Dan on YouTube, check him out. There's a nice group shot of them, and there are similar figures next to similar figures, which is also really cool. And then this one right here, which is like pretty much the exact same figure, but a different coloration to it. So you can see the size, scale, and the differences. And I do want to point out that these figures actually did have shields. In the Beast Saga, they actually included some shields, and you can see that the Japanese laser beasts, there are some shields that go with some of them. As my knowledge and my ability to understand what they were doing back then in Japan in the 80s with the toy line I had some of as a kid but didn't fully collect, I'm still kind of confused whether the shields were sold separately, packed in with laser beasts. Do you need the shields to be complete? There's still a lot of questions to be asked, but checklists are a little bit challenging with that. But there were shields available, and they are kind of cool, and they're kind of interesting. And I'm bringing this up because I'm going to show something else later that is interesting. Now I want you to get a good look at these weapons that come with these figures. These laser beast figures have some weapons. They have guns. And the original ones, the earlier ones, had mostly stabbing weapons like staffs and spears and those kinds of things. And the laser beasts had laser guns. But here's something that I found to be quite interesting and quite cool when I was collecting Visionaries. Visionaries in Greece, so it's Greek, El Greco, Zoids Visionaries. This is Arzon figure, and it's packed with a gold chrome-plated weapon that is said to be a Battle Beast weapon. I mean, I guess I could sit here and try to figure out which one it is, match it up to the weapon. But I think that's quite interesting, and it's one of those things that would they continue the continuity and make the weapons match exactly? If they did Masterpiece scale versions of these, that would be quite interesting. Diamond Select actually made some Battle Beast also. It's one of those things that doesn't look exactly like Battle Beast that we know of, but it has a bit of a flair, a similarity. It's historical, like the beasts part looks similar. The armor part either is non-existent or doesn't match at all, but it is branded Battle Beast. Here's the package. So I had to show the package to show it was branded as Battle Beast. These are about the same height, but much thinner, in my opinion. I don't own any of these. I just have to kind of go off what other people say about them, and I believe them. But looking at this, it's a second resurgence. I actually don't know what came first, the chicken, the egg, this, or Takara's 2013 resurgence, but I just know these things exist. And in some cases, some of the figures are actually taller than the vintage, which makes it kind of cool. That is actually pretty cool that you see a bit of an upscale. Is this Masterpiece scale? I still kind of feel like it's too small to be Masterpiece scale. Still about the same height as what we got with Takara's resurgence in 2013, but the Diamond Select ones are, as you can see, much thinner. But for adult collectors, wouldn't you want something that looks a little bit more realistic, even though it's still kind of small? That's kind of a question about Battle Beasts. Enter Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. This is something that had, I believe they had a crowdfund to start it out, and I'm real late to the game on these. I still think they're cool. I won't be collecting them. I'm not associated with them at all, but it's something that kind of, when I think of a Battle Beast resurgence, this feels like it fits it for a masterpiece scale, even though it is not associated or affiliated or even trying to be Battle Beast. There's a lot of similarities. First off, these guys, most of them have armor. Not all of them, but for the most part, most of them have armor, which is not exactly the same thing you see with the Battle Beasts, but in some cases very similar. Also the fact that they are beasts themselves. The animals look like Battle Beast creatures in a way, like they could be part of that universe. So when I see this, I keep thinking about Battle Beasts. Maybe it was an inspiration of theirs, and it was inspired the creators when they were making this because they liked Battle Beasts and other anthropomorphic type of characters, but this is a pretty cool line. But once you start looking at the loadout, the weapons, the fact they do have shields, which was something that we got later in Japan with the laser beasts, and you start to see more similarities. The weapons with the swords, specifically up on the upper left, you see those kinds of weird blades and strange bladed swords in Battle Beast, and so that's kind of another reminder. So in a lot of ways this mimics it, but the downside, of course, is you don't get an exact one for one. You don't get a character match, and you can't match everything up to match the 112 that they made back in the day. As for my wishes for Battle Beast, I would actually prefer it if Takara or Hasbro or jointly brought them back. I mean, you think about it, it would sell really well in Japan. It would sell really well in the US. At least the earlier waves would. Starting with stuff like Pirate Lion up to the number 28 Krusty Krab. The first 76 are generally accepted as the most common. And if it's the most common, the most popular. So I would love to see a resurgence. Just match it 1-to-1 as a retro. Colors a little bit different shape to them, but still homage the original figure, kind of like what they do with the retro Star Wars. I think that making it a dice game and Japanese only was a bit of a fail in 2013. They had an opportunity, and I think that Takara took a risk, and they wanted to mitigate the risk by making it a game and selling it as a game, but I would guess 75% of people would have rather just be a true blue successor to Battle Beast in the vintage line, or what they actually called back in the day Beast Formers. But anyway, you let me know what you think about Battle Beast. Do you not count them as part of the Transformers world, the Transformers saga, the Transformers history? Do you count them as Transformers history? And if they are truly part of Transformers history, do you even care? Would you even buy them if they made a Masterpiece scale? And what would Masterpiece scale look like? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and Takara Hanger out.
But if we don't get help, when will we be able to?
I realize that. But still, we have to cut down our casualties to the minimum.
I've never seen a ship this massive. Even Galvatron's isn't that big.
Please put me down.
How's your injury now?
Piece of cake.
We feel fine now that you guys are here.
Excited over the fact that aid has arrived. Everyone is enthusiastic and eager to fight the Decepticons.
I am the chief commander in charge of this operation.
My name is Fortress Maximus.
Hey, you! Get up now! Get up, you lazy old man!